You tell us, start with how he's Nixie, how's he feeling and what sort of correspondence he has?
No, he's fine. Yeah, we're on the phone all the time, obviously, and spend a fair bit of time together. But at this stage, he's feeling pretty good, which is positive. So hopefully, it doesn't hit him too hard.
No other positive tests at this stage?
Not at this stage, but I think we're like everyone, aren't we? There's always something just around the corner. But we test every day anyway, so we usually catch them pretty early, and we've been pretty safe in here with most of the protocols, with masks and things like that. So hopefully, there's not too many more.
How did you actually find out about this situation?
Just a phone call yesterday morning. So yeah, it's interesting because when you're a little bit older with kids anyway, it's childcare or schools, it's everywhere. So in all honesty, we probably thought we'd get hit harder earlier. So it's surprising we've had a few coaches over the last 2 to 3 weeks and a few staff that have had it here and there. But generally, we've been pretty good.
You avoided it yourself?
Avoided, yeah, at this stage. So it's just a matter of time. We're all ticking the time, aren't we, till we get done at some stage.
So what sort of precautions are you putting in place now for players and staff? Is there anything, I mean, a little more heightened now than you would have been last week?
Oh, not more heightened, because we know it's always going to be there. We're doing things, we think anyway, quite well. We got hit early in the year, as you remember, the pre-season where our players and that got it through that point in time. So that was the one that probably caught us unaware a little bit, or it was too late to rectify because they all got it at the same time. So when you're getting one or two drifting in at a time, we're really confident that most things we're setting up are working quite well.
So what are you doing?
Oh, just the classic, the spacing, how many people in a room at once, open air as much as we possibly can, masks in meetings, things like that.
Is there concern of the reinfection at all when you think about when the players had previously and now coming into the outside of the 3-month space, I suppose?
Yeah, that's the unknown. It's not just us. It'd be especially the Melbourne teams as well. We had quite a few of our boys, probably the other half got them around that Christmas period, which most of the Victorians got it there as well. So we don't know too much about it, do we? Who gets reinfected, who doesn't? We know that some do, but there's no doubt at some stage that will pop its head up.
How much time has Nixie spent with the players over the past few days in which they could have been exposed?
Well, none since yesterday, obviously yesterday morning, but besides that, just as he normally does. So there's obviously team meetings where you're not quite as close, but he certainly would have had a few 1v1s with players, and staff have probably been pretty close to him. Yeah, but like I said, we're trying to take as many protocols and be as safe as we possibly can. So at this stage, everything's been okay.
Feel a bit of pressure with this assistant coach record, 6 wins, 0 losses?
It was always going to get asked, wasn't it, at some stage? Yeah. No, not at all. Not really. Just really looking forward to it. It's quite exciting to, an AFL game, especially a big game interstate against Carlton, who are going so well, which is going to be a massive challenge because we've seen the improvement that they've had this year. And they've got some players that are in some ripping form as well through their midfield, through their backs. 2 powerhouse big forwards. So it's going to be a great challenge, and we need to respond because we're pretty poor early that first half last week, and we just can't afford to bring that again for the first half this week.
How will it actually work on game day in terms of communication and what Nixie gets access to?
Yeah, he'll have access to bits and pieces. He certainly wants us as a coaching panel to control it as much as possible. But there's some really good things you can pick up if you're sitting at home on the side-on vision that sometimes we might not. We might be looking at a bigger picture as well. So there's certainly things there that he can text through now and again, there's no doubt. And I think most senior coaches find it pretty hard not to do absolutely anything. It'd be nice if he didn't. It means we're probably going okay.
How did the conversation go with Matt Crouch? Did you have it, or was it something?
No, Nixie had that. That was done Wednesday afternoon before Nixie moved on.
How's he feeling and how's he taking it?
I haven't had a chance yesterday, day off, and haven't had a chance to speak to him today, but he's an incredibly proud person, Matty, and very professional. No doubt he'll go back and do what the few things that probably Nixie spoke to him about to try and add to his game, to improve his game, but just go back and embrace the SANFL, because we've been really pleased with how boys have gone down there this year, and lost the one game, but there's a really tight feeling amongst the boys down there playing week in, week out. So as long as he goes back down there and embraces the coaches and the teammates around him and goes back there doing everything he can for us to get the win, he'll be back up in the senior team, I'd say, pretty soon.
Is defensively an issue there, Scott, around stoppage perhaps?
Oh, not just specifically that. There's just a few areas where he's just probably hasn't been as potent as or as good as what he had been probably 2 to 3 years ago. We've got to be careful with Matty too. We know that he has missed a lot of footy and there's been issues, and it's probably no different to the Miller stuff earlier in the year where we, as a coaching panel, we probably brought him back a little bit early, and we're giving him a really good bank of football now to get his fitness and his game sense back up, and it's really worked for Wayne because he's really close to getting back into the senior team.
It seems like he might be being mentioned earlier in the week that he was right line to come back in. It's a bit of a surprise to not see him like that.
Yeah, we've got to be careful with the 25 at times too, because we might have emergencies in there that might be covering other blokes who might be a bit sore or a bit stiff. And there's obviously when you're playing interstate, we may have to take a bloke over, a carry over who doesn't play at all. So it's something we don't want to do with Wayne. We need him playing games of football. So it's when you see the selection of the 25, sometimes there's a lot of blokes that have been right around the mark, and we haven't decided to go that way. He may have been in the 22, but we've had discussions and someone jumps over the top and he needs a game, let's put him back there and make sure he gets that game.
Did Crouch play more than 1 week in the sample? Or is it a
I've got no idea.
Do you know what Nixie specifically said to Crouch?
No.
Did you have any conversations about that beforehand?
No, not specifically. No, that would have been more Nixie, obviously, and probably VB, Van Berlo as a midfield coach.
And what kind of conversations has he had with you ahead of this game? Has he given you any advice or anything like that? Nixie,
Well, I guess the beauty about the timing of it on a Thursday morning is we'd previewed the game previously, we'd planned a lot for this week. So we as a coaching panel, we had most things under control when Nixie went down. Nixie's just really said, just be yourself, just back yourself in, and certainly back. We've got a pretty experienced coaching panel around us as well. I'll step in, but Marco Bella, who's been around for a long time, Box Hill and Hawthorn, coached Box Hill to a grand final over there. He's got huge experience, so he'll come in and take the back line.
Scott, would you take any extras over to Melbourne, given you might have a case or two pop up in the next couple of days?
Yeah, we may. We're just going to go through and have a chat about that now, so that's a valid question. It's a really fine balancing act because we've got players we want to play SANFL, so it's a discussion that will go in here with Nixie will be hooked up, the coaching panel, and Darren Burgess and that as well, sit down, have a chat about it, and we may err that way.
And just with the match committee discussion about Crouch, was there, in terms of the makeup of the midfield, was there something you were looking for particularly to leave him out and include, say, a Berry or a Pedler?
Oh no, we're not looking to leave him out at all. No, it's just that if you looked at the SANFL form of Berry and Haitley for a good 4 to 6 weeks, they're playing outstanding footy down underneath and deserve their opportunity. And look, we certainly want to persevere and give them as much time as possible. It's pretty hard coming from the level underneath to the top level and just have 1 or 2 weeks. Now, there are times that we will bring someone up for a week and they'll go back down, but ideally we'd love to give them a good bank of games. I've said it before, it's like facing an opening bowler or having a tennis player serve at you 200 k's an hour. The first half a dozen come whiz past you pretty quick, and then eventually you become accustomed to the speed and the pace. So that's what we're hoping for. Those boys that have played really good football underneath, they might just, this is a bit quicker, this level up here, but the 2, 3, 4 weeks post their first game, they're really getting used to the level of AFL football.
Just to go back to junior, sorry Matt, just to go back to junior, it was sort of, played round 1, he needed sort of a month, I think Nixie said at the time. He's played sort of at least 5 games now. Is he ready, and what are you looking for from him before you pick him again?
Oh no, he's, like we said earlier, he's close, really close to being included. Wayne is such a big part of our future going forward. Like we've said earlier, we want to make sure that when he comes in next time that he's in. He's here for hopefully another 150 games at this football club, because he's a very good player, but certainly a quality person as well, and we want to do everything right by him. But yeah, we love what he's bringing with the SANFL and what he can bring or add to our senior team down the track.
Would that be down back if he's back in?
Yeah, more than likely.
Maybe I don't think I had CBA last year. You seem someone that's going to push him in the field.
Yeah. I mean, Jacko's actually early on at the Giants. Jacko played a lot of wing time there as well. So he has got that to his game and did some really good things off the wing last week for us at times when he went there. There's no doubt that he'll get a bit of midfield time this week as well. And he played some terrific football as a junior with SA at that level as a centreman or in the midfield. And his football early for the SANFL team was mainly through the middle.
Paddy Cripps is back to his best. How do you go about playing.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? He just looks a completely different player. Like you see, you scratch your heads when you watch some blokes. If you go back last year where he just looked like he was battling a little bit, so obviously he's carrying something for a bit sore, but yeah, I haven't seen him look this good for a long time. He's an absolute star. He's obviously as big as any nearly key position player, terrific with his hands, and he's always had this in his game, but his aerial and sliding forward and kicking goals over the first 4 to 5 weeks has certainly added something else to his game, or probably added more to his game than he's probably had in the past. So, yeah, he's a good player, but you can go through that whole Carlton midfield at the moment. They're all getting the ball, they're using it, they've got stars off their half-back line that are running and carrying, and like I said, you've got some big key forwards down there that can take a clunk or two. And probably the most underrated area is the boys that are helping out Wiedering down back, and their smaller forwards that are putting pressure on there. They're 2 areas of the game that I think's really improved over the last, since Foster's taken over.
Scott, how do you feel heading into the hot seat, do you think, personally, when you realise that you're sitting in the main chair, it's your first time in charge of an AFL club as a senior coach? Does that affect you? How do you feel about that at all?
It hasn't at this stage. No, I'm still pretty relaxed.
Can tell.
That might change when you sit in there. I'll just be interested if I smash the phone 5 minutes in, won't it? But no, usually I'm pretty relaxed, pretty calm. Like I said, a lot of our work as coaches is the preparation that we do, obviously pre-season, but during the week, reviewing past games or looking at strategies and tactics for the upcoming game. And if we've got that right, then most things, the main thing it's about now is making sure the boys are ready to go at the start of the first bounce. So that's what we've got to make sure we get right this week, which unfortunately we didn't get right last week.
What have you done this week to make sure that isn't an issue again if you start the same way?
Yeah, well, we've obviously had the review. We've gone through that. We talked about being pretty honest in terms of what we had to speak about last week, things that we didn't do well. But really, it comes down, there's pride of performance that comes into it as well. I mean, we've got to make sure that we give the players every opportunity that they come out and play at their best, whether that's through training, whether that's the drills that we do, whether that's our preparation with their specific roles. We've got to make sure that they've got clarity before they go into the game, and they've got to make sure that they bring that hard mindset to compete from the first bounce, from the first minute.
You might have already said this is hard to hear from back here, but how long do you think Crouch might end up being in the Sandford 4? And is there any specific players that you think can't take his role?
Yeah, no idea. I really can't answer that. So that's week by week.
And what about the players that could take on that role and play? Any indication on that?
Oh, well, we've got a few that can go through there. We've obviously, we put Rochelle in there a little bit as well at centre bounce. We know that we can put Haitley in there that can play centre bounce as well. There might be 1 or 2 others that we'll look at to get a bit of midfield time on the weekend, but we'll clarify that in match committee after this, and there's probably some things I don't want to say here right now as well.
Last 2 guys.
You reckon Cripps will go to Walker?
I reckon Cripps will go to Walker.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope so.
Scott, what is this? Obviously, you've got aspirations to be a head coach at some point. Is that fair to say? And if so, what does this give you a taste of? Potentially down the track, if a job opens up, how will you be better for the senior coaching role from this sort of experience?
Yeah, well, I don't think 1 week really will make a massive difference. Obviously, it's the work that you put in, like from day one when you work under some terrific people and you've seen how things work, not just as coaches but also staff around. So there's ideally, especially when I first got out of playing with, such as I'd love to be a senior coach, but where I'm at right now, I'm loving working alongside Nixie, and I hope the supporters and the members of the LA Football Club can see there is improvement, and we're obviously not happy with the performance we put out last week, and I'm loving going through this journey with them though, and educating and teaching and riding the ups and downs, which are going to keep happening, but we know that eventually if we stick to the plan and the coaching panel stick together, that we'll get some results at the end.
Remember lining Fossey up in the 2002 grand final?
That was always going to come at some stage, wasn't it? And that was you that was going to ask it, probably, Theo. No, I've got a bad memory.
Rubbish.